and welcome back to our monthly plenary report. Next year's budget kept MEPs busy this session following the failure to adopt an initial proposal from the Commission earlier this month. They also discussed challenges facing public broadcasters. Topping the agenda, however, was the stability of the euro. In a reversal of its policy, Ireland announced on Sunday that it was seeking aid from the EU and the International Monetary Fund. The government was responding to concerns that a lack of investor confidence in its ability to repay loans was affecting the stability of the entire eurozone. The news put the future of the euro firmly on the agenda for MEPs.
Except from a few of the usual suspects, notably from the UK, the consensus, especially from the European Commission, was that the EU would be much worse off without the euro. Olli Rehn, Commissioner for Economic and Monetary Affairs, echoed comments already made by Barroso on the importance of the common currency.
Any talk of deconstruction over the European project is irresponsible. All member states would have been in a much more difficult situation without the European Union and its protective shield. The euro is and continues to be the cornerstone of the European Union. It is not only a technical monetary arrangement, but it is indeed the core political project of the European Union.
Irish MEP Merit McGuinness laid the blame for instability in her country firmly on the current Irish government.
The Irish government horribly mismanaged our country, and it's a sad day for the Irish people that we are mentioned in this chamber in this particular circumstance. But we are in a situation where we need solidarity.
Herman Van Rompuy, President of the European Council that represents member states, appealed to MEPs not to pick on the wrong enemy. Even he, however, called for increased responsibility from EU governments towards their partners.
We want to ensure that each member state fully takes into account the impact of its economic and fiscal decisions on its partners and on the stability of the European Union as a whole.
At a debate that should in theory have been dedicated to discussing the European Central Bank's annual report for 2009, its president Jean-Claude Trichet said the long-term solution to stability was increased economic governance.
It is not the euro which is at stake. It is financial instability driven by, in the case, bad behavior of fiscal policies. Of course, with the interaction with markets, which is always there, which are always there. We are in market economies. But again, fundamentally, what is our diagnosis is that what is abnormal in the functioning of Europe was that we had poor governance of the economic union.
Measures adopted to reform economic governance are, he said, an improvement but don't go far enough.
As regards the specific requirements of the euro area, they fall, in our view, short of what we view as necessary to ensure the best possible functioning of the single currency economy.
Trichet called on the European Parliament to make the necessary quantum leap in economic governance a reality and highlighted the determination he said Parliament had shown on financial supervision rules and the European Systemic Risk Board.
The EU's budget for next year still hasn't been agreed. This is the first EU budget that comes under the rules of the Lisbon Treaty, which means that national governments in the Council and MEPs here in the European Parliament have to agree the budget together.
Initially, the Parliament was calling for a 6% budget increase for next year. But with all member states having to make cuts in national expenditure as a result of the ongoing crisis, the Council refused to go above 3%. The Parliament agreed to stick with the Council's figure, but in return MEPs wanted a greater say over the EU's next medium-term budget. Negotiations broke down when the Council refused this demand. So how likely is it in the future that the Parliament will get what it's asking for in terms of more say over the financial framework?
It's very clear that what we are asking for is just follow the treaty. The treaty foresees that Europe is financed mainly from own resources. So we have to have this debate, otherwise we are against the treaty. It's very clear that we are insisting to have the flexibility mechanism we have now, before the Lisbon Treaty was coming into force, and to propose some gentleman agreements how to deal with each other, how to talk, how to negotiate.
The impasse also calls into question the Commission's work programme for 2011. MEPs debated the work programme here in Strasbourg this week. Commission President José Manuel Barroso sought to remind MEPs and the Council that the EU budget remains a vital tool for the Union's strategic goals.
The EU budget is different from national budgets. It's important to underline that because sometimes we look at them in the same way. First and foremost, the EU budget does not have a deficit. It is always balanced. It differs from the budgets of member states in that it is above all a budget of investment contributing to growth. And we all know just how much we need that investment at the moment.
It's possible an agreement will be struck at a special sitting of the Parliament a few days before Christmas. But if no deal is done, next year's EU budget will be exactly the same amount as this year's.
On Monday night, Parliament debated a new media report drafted by Belgian MEP Ivo Bellet, himself a former TV journalist. Bellet is worried about the challenges faced by public service broadcasters in today's rapidly changing media environment.
The challenges they face endanger the so-called dual audiovisual system with a good balance between public service and commercial broadcasters. This dual system is key to guaranteeing quality, diversity and freedom of expression.
Maar helaas staat dat model zwaar onder druk in de Europese
Our typical European dual media model has to deal with increasing pressure resulting from budget cuts in the member states, but also from commercial broadcasters that accuse their public counterparts of unfair competition. The result is that the public service broadcasters have a difficult time staying afloat. This has an impact on the delicate equilibrium in the media market. We need to make sure our European media model continues to exist and is firmly embedded in this turbulent media environment.
To ensure a healthy balance between private and public broadcasters, a one-size-fits-all approach will not work. The differences between the media landscapes in the member states are too great. According to Bellet, the European Audiovisual Observatory must be given a mandate to examine whether the member states are funding their public service broadcasters in a way that guarantees editorial independence. The Media Pluralism Monitor should also be used in practice. It can act as an early warning system when media pluralism in certain regions is threatened. Ivo Bellet emphasized that public service broadcasters are also entitled to offer their content online. Instead of competing with each other, public and private broadcasters, but also print press, should cooperate more often if they want to survive the massive arrival of new online media players.
Ik denk dat we niet langer aan de zijlijn mogen staan.
We should act now, otherwise we risk waking up one day and finding our media landscape invaded by Google, YouTube and Apple.
That's all for this session, but we'll be back before Christmas with news from December's plenary session. To keep up to date in the meantime, visit our website eppgroup.eu. Thanks for watching.